For the candidates, if we could limit side conversations during the debate, that seems fair. So wait just a moment and we'll turn it back over. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Meg. All right, now we're going to go on with the GPSA presidential candidate debate. It's going to be different from the council chair debate and the other debates they've held. There's going to be 1 minute for opening, and then there's going to be 1 minute for answering questions, no rebuttals, and then a minute for closing. All right, and I'm going to draw the order. First person to go will be Jacob Candelaria.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you all for giving us the time to come and speak with you this morning. My name is Jacob Candelaria, and I'm a first-year MPA student here at the University of New Mexico. While I may be new to this university, I'm not new to the issues that continue to challenge us as a collective graduate student community. I'm in this race because I think I bring some unique things to the table. As a former auditor with the Legislative Finance Committee and budget analyst with the same committee, I think I bring to the table the tools necessary to begin engaging all of you as a council in a discussion about how we can start addressing the critical issues that continue to impact us year after year. Tuition, research funding, resource allocation issues at this university, and begin to address those at a systemic level, with the actors across the state of New Mexico who we need to bring to the table in order to really make some significant and marked progress going forward. I look forward to speaking with all of you, and thank you again.
Next person will be Katie Richardson.
Hi everyone, I'm a PhD candidate in physics and astronomy. My name is Katie Richardson, if you don't know me. Probably most of you know me as the grants chair for the past 2 years. And you probably also know that I've made some substantive changes to that grants process. I've put the application system online so that it's more accessible to more students. I've brought ST costs up to $500 a grant so that it's accessible for professional students. And I've also made some changes to the bylaws that make the system more equitable for all students. So you know that I'm about equity, about inclusion, openness, and accountability. So that's what I've brought to the grants process. It's what I also intend to bring to the GPSA presidency. My priorities as president will be to further graduate student research and try to obtain funds and bring money into this university. I will also try to preserve the TA and GA lines because we depend on that for funding. And for those students who are actually going out of pocket for their tuition and fees, I want to fight tuition increases and fee increases. I've sat on the Student Fee Review Board for the past 2 years and done exactly that.
Thanks. Next on the order, we have Joseph.
So I have been on the council for the last year, and many of you do know me from my experience working with the council, but I have also been a part of this university for 6 years. And I'm extremely passionate about the university and its students and graduate and professional students and their needs. And I think as candidates, we all agree that there are certain things that we cannot put behind us as priorities for graduate students. And that's obviously things like graduate teaching opportunities, GA and TA ships, and obviously graduate research. But I think the main thing that I want to focus on is a plan. And a plan to make sure that this organization continues to be a strong voice for students. And my #1 priority as president is making sure that the organization as a whole for GPSA remains strong. And my main focus with that is making sure that the council is heard and the council has a fair voice in the GPSA organization. And we'll talk more about it obviously with the Constitution, but that's one of my main highlights.
All right, and lastly, we have Patricia Caballero.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. First of all, let me tell you that this race is not about me. I'm not running against anything or anybody. This race is you and I together, coming together, finding a permanent place at the tables as the decision makers. We're fragmented right now. We have the administration, the issues, the concerns. We all know what those are. What we have not had are the processes in which to play out and be the actual decision makers in all of these issues. We have not had the opportunity to come together as a team. It takes a team to come together. It comes all of us. We need more than a voice. We need more than a seat. We need to be able to be sitting at the table and making the decisions to avoid what's happening to us right now, and that is that we're running in all directions, trying to put out fires, trying to create all of the answers and react to all of the problems that we know we face. And so I'm here to be a leader of this team to help facilitate. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to questions now. These questions were written by people here in the GPSA Council. Everyone, all the candidates will have an opportunity to go first. And I'll remind you, it's the 1 minute for questions. This first question is directed to Jacob. What do you believe the role of the project assistant in the GPSA office should be?
You know, I think this is a critical question that I've had discussions with several members of the council about. I think that the role of the project assistants in, my administration, if you want to call it that, would assume more substantive duties and would really act as someone who supported initiatives to begin addressing tuition problems, research problems, from a state perspective and trying to push forward a state agenda. I think that inevitably that position also has to be responsive to the needs of the council and to the organization itself. But as far as my thinking goes, I really want to try and build a team that can work collectively with the council to really start pushing forward a comprehensive agenda, and that can really start making some significant steps forward on some of these issues. Patricia talked about having a seat at the table. I've called upon the university to include GPSA on the Regents Budget Committee, and I think that those are sort of the issues that I would have the project assistant helping me to work on. Thank you.
All right, next on the list is Kate.
I think the project assistants have been working on substantive issues. Nick Enquist focused a lot on the lobby issues that were important to GPSA, as were identified by the survey that was sent out to students. So we found out what students' needs were, and we put the PAs, the GPSA president put the PAs to work on those very issues. Melanie Cottrell has been working on overhauling our website, which was in desperate need of a facelift and some reorganization. Elroy Kitso has been working on making sure that the Student Fee Review Board videos have been uploaded online. So I think that those are issues that directly impact graduate students and professional students, and have to do with the accessibility and effectiveness in GPSA's advocacy. I think that the way that I would hope to work with the PAs would be to identify the important issues that needed a lot of time and labor to be accomplished, and we would want to make sure that the right skill set was matched to the right problem and make sure that we were effective as an organization. That's what the PAs can do.
Joseph.
I think that it's very important to look at the GPSA project assistants as part of the entire organization. These aren't personal assistants to the president, and I think it's absolutely vital that they represent the desires and the needs of the entire organization, and that includes the council. And I would make sure that if I was president, that at least one portion of the PA position would be, or one person, one of the PAs, was focused on working directly with the council and the council chair, because I think that that's vitally important, especially with the changes to the oversight of GPSA that are introduced with the new constitution. In addition to that, I think the roles with the PAs need to be defined a little bit more. I think they're great positions and they're a great opportunity to reach out to more graduate students that are coming into the office. But I would also promise that I would never allow a person who's being paid by student fees to be a voice for the president in a meeting. I would make sure that those are all volunteer positions. I think the PA's roles are in the office to facilitate students in there, but I think it's important to make sure that they're focused primarily on the organization with the president and the council.
And Patricia.
The PAs are very, very important to the overall management and the overall processes that are established by the president within that office. And I think that the president takes the direction. I truly believe that the president takes the direction from this body, listening to the representatives from this body as to what the issues and the concerns are, and then developing the processes within that management capacity of the president to be able to carry those out in an effective and an efficient manner. And the project assistants are assets to the organization. They bring a lot of value. Their but it also is based on the type of direction that the president is giving in terms of management. And so again, it goes back to teamwork. If we have a strong team in management, we have a strong team between council and president, then we can get the work done. Thank you.
All right. Next question will be first directed to Katie. Do you feel lobbying the New Mexico government is important? How or why?
I absolutely believe that lobbying the New Mexico state government is important for graduate students because fundamentally this university receives its budget from the taxpayers and from student tuition. And so how that money gets spent and what sort of resources we have available to us as graduate students absolutely depends on our relationship with the legislature. Last year, I was able to successfully lobby the New Mexico State Legislature to preserve GRD funding. And I was able to turn around that very next year and award and facilitate the award of 15 grants to graduate students of $3,000 to $5,000 each. And that has a direct impact on our careers. So I've seen firsthand how lobbying can make a difference in our lives. On the other hand, I think that it's important to touch base with students. We don't want to be spending their money lobbying for things that they don't believe in. So we absolutely need to make sure that a lobbying legislative survey goes out again next year and that we base our efforts on the results of that survey. I believe in that student voice and listening to it.
Joseph?
This year the legislature cut funding to GPSA grants, and I think it's extremely important to make sure that that funding is restored. This year the administration agreed to pick up the tab, and the regions are on plan to pass that part of the budget. But I think it's important that we look for alternative ways to increase our funding for graduate student research specifically, and funding in general through the legislature. I've interned at the legislature and I've worked in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol, and I understand the importance of having people doing footwork for members of the legislature because it does make a big difference. But the important thing is to make sure that you have people that are in there that have a reasonable voice and people are actually going to listen to your concerns. Because if you go in making demands for certain things, they may not necessarily want to listen to what you have to say. But I think it is very important, but I think it's more important to make sure that somebody's in there in a professional manner to advocate for students.
Patricia?
It's absolutely important for us to have that vehicle by which to press for legislative changes. Legislative changes, we all know, lead to institutional change, structural changes, and that's what I'm talking about, that we need to have in order to create a permanent decision-making body for the students so that we're not just a voice. Again, we're not just a seat. So lobbying is extremely important, but there are creative ways in which we can join other lobby efforts to strengthen and to come together collaboratively to strengthen our objectives and our goals. And first of all, though, it begins with surveying, having the proper instruments in place to survey what it is that are important. And that's where the council comes in, because what is important for us to be taking to the legislature is what you bring to us as a unified voice. And so it's absolutely incredible and necessary for us to have a strong lobbying voice.
Jacob?
I've said consistently throughout this campaign that the issues of tuition and research funding for graduate students will not be solved at this university. They will be solved when this state decides to finally take action and craft a comprehensive tuition policy and finally recognize the unique mission of our four-year research institutions. The tenuous nature of the GRD line item appropriation, that problem will never go away until we seriously engage state actors in living up to their commitment to support the research activities of graduate students and professors through a stable and permanent line of support for its four-year research institutions. As a former LFC auditor who worked on the audit of UNM, and as the former principal analyst to the Speaker of the House, this is what I bring to the table, those critical relationships and that integral and intimate knowledge of the process that I can leverage with all of you working in collaboration to finally move our state past these continuous problems.
All right, next question would first be directed to Joseph.